JOBY have diluted. We want to discuss this and what it will mean for the eVTOL industry and JOBY investors. And don't worry, you Archer investors, we're going to cover what this might mean for Archer later in the video. Now, without any further ado, we need to discuss what was this dilution, how much was it for, what have JOBY had to do to get this dilution. We'll then discuss what it could be used on, and then we'll discuss how it might affect Archer Aviation and the greater eVTOL industry. So, JOBY gave this news release, and this is what it stated. It was on the 9th of October. A company developing electric air taxis for commercial passenger services announced today closing of an underwritten offering of 35,075,000 shares of its common stock at an offering price of $16.85 per share. So this was slightly below the market at that time. We'll have a little discussion about what the price was, but this was obviously a good price at the time. It was slightly below the market, and I think that's sort of what has triggered the drop in the share price. The shares of common stock issued and sold in the offering include a 4,575,000 shares issued upon the exercise in full by the underwriter of his option to purchase additional shares of common stock at the offering price, less underwriting discounts and commissions. The gross proceeds from the offering, before deducting underwriting discounts and commissions and other offering expenses payable by JOBY, were approximately $591 million. All of the shares in the offering were sold by JOBY. So that's quite a lot to unpack. I did just want to jump into what the stock price was on the 9th of October. So I've got it up here. On the 6th of October, when you imagine they were in the discussions, we'd hit a high of 1957. So 1957, huge for JOBY, and it was obviously a great price. I imagine this when negotiations are sort of happened, it's starting to tail up to this sort of price. Now we dropped down to this 9th of October, and the share price then was 17.14 on the close. So we've dropped a little bit now, 16.28. But what we have to remember is this is going to create a war chest that we'll need for the R&D development of these eVTOLs. They're now competing with Archer's war chest, which we've discussed before. Archer had a huge bank balance, bigger and much more robust than JOBY's. And I don't know if this is JOBY's retaliation. One thing about me, I love when the companies I'm investing in are diluting at a higher price, because it gives us a bit more runway. It gives us, and pardon the pun, but it gives us a bit more runway. It gives us time, and it hasn't affected the stock price that much. There was 4.5 million shares that the underwriter snapped up after exercising their option to buy more. So showing that they have commitment, and with the option of the additional 4.5 million shares, they took that option. This 16.85 was a good price to be getting in at. I know we've probably got a lot of people on X that I've seen that are saying 16.85 is far too high, but there's so many stocks out there where there isn't really a limit on the amount, especially at the moment where the market caps are very low, considering that this could go to a $1 trillion industry by 2040, and they're saying 9 trillion by 2050. So there is a huge runway and a load of potential here in this industry. My advice to anyone getting into the eVTOL space, and this obviously isn't financial advice, but 16.85, do not be scared just because it's come from $5 and you think, oh, we've reached a peak. If you've seen Rocket Lab lately, it started off at $4 and we've went up into the 60s and 70s. It is a serious chunk of change. I think none of us can deny with that. So one of the main questions we always get is, what would that dilution buy us? And I think after many videos with our pilot, Mark, we had a lot of discussions about the next stage would be getting their plant in order to be able to mass produce the eVTOLs. So we think that this chunk of change could be used for the manufacturing process. We should be getting to the end of the TIA testing in about 6 months, I believe. Probably by this point, it's like another 6 to 9 months. But once they're starting to tick off these different parts of certification, they're going to have to start buying the plant and getting it ready in the production line in order to start pumping these out once we have that part certification. And I don't know about you guys, but I'd like to see that 1685 or 1628 and 1592 aftermarket being absolutely smashed by the time that we get that part certification. So now I think we've got to discuss, what does this mean for Archer? So we had a big week last week with Archer. We thought that they had a partnership with Tesla. It unfortunately doesn't look like that is the case now. Do you think that Archer are probably looking over at Joby and slightly envious of where they're sitting at the moment in terms of their design seems to be a bit further forward? Was this a bit of an angle to try and sway the public again? We're not 100% sure at the moment, but I can't see them posting with Tesla unless there is some sort of underlying metric there. I just, I do know that they like PR, but usually the PR is semi-realistic. It's not just doing this just for the sake. So like where they're saying that their design is slightly ahead of where it was, that is a bit of a white lie. So we're saying we're slightly ahead. We might be a month or two away, and we're maybe just being an ambitious goal. I don't think they're just saying blatant lies, and I don't think that they would be partnering or showing that they're partnering with Tesla unless there was something there. In terms of Joby, though, this is a big, big move because I like to thought that they're getting that war chest ready so that they can push on in the next step. And that next step will be designing, manufacturing, and then selling these eVTOLs. And we've also seen the goals that they've done in terms of partnering with Whisk or buying Whisk. And then the Joby Elevate app is now going to be used and partnered with the Whisk customer base. So there's a lot happening. And the fact that they've now raised these funds means that there is more money in the pot and we get that slightly more runway and gets us over the line. For those of you who are interested in eVTOL space, Kathy Wood has had a lot to say on how Archer could benefit from Tesla's next move. Give it a watch here. I'll meet you there. Let's carry on this journey together.